Anakin marches inside the Jedi Council chamber alongside the 501st. A group of Jedi younglings is hiding there. They walk up to the seasoned Jedi Knight.
Master Skywalker, there are too many of them. What are we going to do?
One of the younglings naively asks. At this, Anakin ignites his saber. The 501st officers are ready to shoot. But suddenly, without warning, Anakin force pushes the officers out of the room and shuts the door. "We have to get you guys out of here," says Anakin. How did this come to be? What happened to our favorite youngling killer to get him to this point in the story? What events led to this massive change in Anakin's journey? Have you ever wondered what would have happened if Mace Windu had died before Anakin got into the Chancellor's office in Revenge of the Sith? Have you ever thought about the possibility of what would have happened if Palpatine had unleashed the full might of the dark side upon his opponent in that moment? Well, if you have, grab a cup of my galaxy-renowned Bantha brew and cuddle up with your pet porg, because that is what we'll be exploring today. Welcome, Star Wars friends, to What If Mace Windu Died Before Anakin Entered the Chancellor's Office in Revenge of the Sith. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, Mace and his fellow Jedi march into the Chancellor's office to arrest Palpatine. "In the name of the Galactic Senate of the Republic, you are under arrest, Chancellor," Mace announces. The Jedi ignite their lightsabers. "The Senate will decide your fate," Mace continues. Palpatine, in his resounding voice, proclaims, "I am the Senate." In the movie, Mace and Palpatine commence an epic lightsaber battle, but in this story, Palpatine does not ignite his lightsaber. Instead, he just does not hesitate and kills all of the Jedi with the power of his Force lightning, which instantly slaughters them all because of its immense power. He doesn't hold back at all. This is before Anakin can interfere. It is in this moment that Anakin rushes to the scene, but he's already too late. He looks over and sees Mace's charred, lifeless body lying on the floor alongside the other Jedi. Anakin grips his lightsaber, ready to protect himself from Palpatine. "Hello there, Anakin," Palpatine says. Anakin stares at the dead Jedi on the floor, but he cannot muster a single move. Processing the sheer magnitude of power that had been unleashed upon the Jedi, he sees the potential that he can unlock through the dark side. At the same time, though, he's conflicted. Anakin doesn't want to see any more of his friends die, not another loved one. And that seemed to be the path that Palpatine was preaching. What happened here?" asks Anakin. "A mutiny. These Jedi are attempting to take my life," Palpatine says. "I told you, Anakin, this is what the dark side can do. These Jedi are too narrow-minded. They can't comprehend the grand vision that I have for this Republic, for the Empire." Palpatine turns to Anakin, asking him a somber question. "So, Anakin, do you see my grand vision now?" Anakin looks directly into the eyes of Palpatine. Fearing the worst, he grips his lightsaber even tighter. But then, Anakin takes a step back. Palpatine did say he could save Padme, but he knew that if he let Palpatine take over, the galaxy would erupt into chaos. However, he also knows that he can't dive headfirst into this conflict. He still doesn't know the full extent of his power, and he doesn't know what he's truly capable of. I do. I believe in your cause, Chancellor," Anakin says hesitantly. "Good. I knew that you would be a trusted ally to my new empire." Anakin bows before Palpatine. "Rise, Skywalker. No time for these pleasantries. We have much work to do. And now, going forth, you shall be called Darth Vader." Palpatine then goes into his office and issues the dreaded instruction to clone troopers. execute Order 66. Anakin is still in the room, confused, wondering what Order 66 is. Anakin, I need you to do me a favor. Palpatine turns to Anakin with a cheeky smile. Lead the 501st to the Jedi Temple and kill every Jedi in sight. Those traitors. Palpatine orders. I want no survivors. Yes, my master, Anakin answers. Not even the younglings. I understand, my lord. Anakin looks back at the Chancellor in horror. He now has a choice to make, to join the dark side or to aid the Jedi in their survival. Meanwhile, on Utapau, after an intense battle with Grievous, Obi-Wan is under attack by the 212th Division, which was under his command, alongside his trusted clone commander, Cody, who had also turned his back on him. He is confused and shocked, but he has no time to panic. He must act to save his own life. Obi-Wan jumps down into the pit, knowing that the water will break his fall, and he begins plotting his escape. At the same time, he secretly contacts Bail Organa and Yoda for reconnaissance. Luckily, both of them are safe from the attack. They decide to arrive on Coruscant and check out what's going on. They fear the worst. All hope seems lost.
What's going on, Master Yoda? Are you alright?
Before the clones got to me, since the attack, I did. But a surprise, indeed it was.
I'm very glad to hear that you're safe. I hope that the other Jedi are as well.
Meanwhile, back at the temple, Anakin leads the 501st to attack and execute Order 66. However, this time, Anakin has a slightly different plan. He tells the 501st that the Jedi wouldn't expect their arrival, leading them to underestimate the capability of the Jedi's defense. The 501st sees this as a way to motivate them, and they don't take their mission any less seriously. However, they do loosen up their guard slightly. As soon as they walk into the temple, they begin a ferocious attack on the Jedi, but this time, the Jedi are able to put up a good fight because of that slightly loosened guard. Some perish in the invasion, but most are able to escape in time. It's in this moment that Anakin goes up to the Jedi Council chamber and finds the younglings. Okay, what do I do? What do I do here? Anakin thinks. He's conflicted. His eyes are filled with sadness, thinking about Sidious's words.
There are too many of them, Master Skywalker. What are we going to do?
Anakin is still contemplating. However, in a miraculous moment that seems to come straight from the Force itself, Anakin senses a familiar presence nearby. He looks out the window and sees Bail Organa's starship flying past the temple. Anakin also senses the presence of both his former master and the old Grand Master of the now fallen Jedi Order. He reaches out with the Force, just like Vader does in Empire Strikes Back to Luke, hoping that they will also feel him. The ship maneuvers into place, and Anakin smiles, knowing that his plan had worked. We're going to get you into that ship, Anakin says. He uses the Force push to break the glass, and one by one, each child jumps out of the window and lands on the ship. Obi-Wan looks up at Anakin coming out of the hatch on top, and he nods, taking each of the younglings down. Just as the last youngling steps onto the ship, a huge metal crumble emanates through the room, and right behind Anakin, Palpatine breaks through the door. He'd come to check on Anakin's progress, and he rips the door of the Jedi Council chamber straight off its hinges. As the door opens, Anakin has to react quickly. He gestures to Bail to lower the ship, and then he looks at the last child. I'm sorry, kid.
Don't worry, Master. I'll be fine. Do what you need to do, the youngling says.
Anakin pushes the child off the ledge, acting as if he's killing the last youngling, but secretly, the ship catches him. Then Palpatine walks over to Anakin. Well done, my new apprentice. I had to come and check on your progress, but it appears that you have done a fantastic job in leading the troopers to execute Order 66. We will find and snuff out the surviving Jedi shortly. Well, I know for a fact that almost all of the Jedi have been slaughtered,
Master.
Good. I expected no less from my apprentice. Palpatine smiles at Anakin. Now, I think it's time for you to go home. You deserve some rest after this big day.
Thank you, Master. Anakin walks off. He now knows that Palpatine is a monster, and he makes his final decision. As Anakin's back is turned to Palpatine, Palpatine's smile drops into a frown. He knows that something is not right, and he was not about to lose his golden opportunity to fulfill his grand vision. Following this event, Anakin knows that he has to reach out to Obi-Wan and Yoda for more help. Anakin is happy to know that they're alive. He also knows that he must betray Sidious to feel any sense of dignity after seeing how Sidious had killed Mace and ordered him to slaughter younglings. Sidious had not adhered to the democratic principles of being innocent until proven guilty and equality under the law that he supposedly loved. Anakin knew that Palpatine was a hypocrite, and even though the Jedi were also hypocritical, Sidious was far more malevolent. Anakin remembers the old code by which he could ring Obi-Wan, and he does so, looking forward to hearing what his old master has to say. Anakin connects to Obi-Wan, careful that he isn't being traced by Palpatine, and they establish a meeting place. Anakin hides with inconspicuous clothing, and they meet in the Coruscant underworld. To make their meeting even more secret, Anakin suggests that they meet on the infamous level 1313, an even worse hive of scum and villainy than the Mos Eisley Cantina. When they meet, Anakin embraces his brother. "Aren't you a sight for sore eyes, Obi-Wan?" he says emphatically.
Missed me too, did you, young Skywalker?
Yoda asks cheekily. Anakin laughs and bows, expressing gratitude for seeing Yoda as well. From here, Anakin fills the pair in on what's going on in the galaxy. The two masters look saddened, especially Obi-Wan. The Order had fallen. However, there's still hope. "I think that the three of us can take on Sidious," Anakin suggests. For a moment, Obi-Wan looks at Anakin like he's mad. "Anakin, are you insane?" Obi-Wan asks. However, Yoda agrees with Skywalker.
"To be stopped, Palpatine must."
Obi-Wan nods to the old master.
"Believe in us." "I do. The Force be with us, it will."
Yoda replies.
"But a plan to complete this task we will need."
Obi-Wan smiles cheekily. "Well, what's your plan, Anakin? Surely you aren't simply going in blind like in all of our old battles together." He chuckles. Anakin responds by telling the Masters that he will act as a spy for them within the halls of the Imperial Palace. Anakin thinks that he can conceal his deceit from Palpatine, and the Jedi trust him. All seems well with their plan. Anakin only asks for two things in return.
"A master you seek to become?"
Yoda inquires. "Yes. When we reinstate the Order, I want to be a master. I also want you to teach me how to save..." Anakin pauses for a moment, wondering if he should actually follow through with his next demand. "How to save my wife." Anakin tells him about what had been going on between him and Padme since the beginning of the Clone Wars. Obi-Wan interjects. "Anakin, stop being ridiculous. Being a Jedi is about sacrifices. This is not an honorable thing to request."
"Deal,"
Yoda announces to the two, interrupting Obi-Wan.
"For your services, teach you how to save Padme, we will."
Yoda adds.
"And make you a master, we will as well."
"Yoda, that is not the way of the Jedi Code. What you are suggesting is out of line with everything that the Order stood for."
"Unprecedented times we are in. Such a request, acceptable it is,"
Yoda answers. Obi-Wan, however, is suspicious of Anakin. He wants to defeat Sidious, and to him, it seems like Anakin is only in it for his own gain. "Are you really with us, Anakin?" Anakin pauses, looking deeply into his former master's eyes. "I wouldn't be here if I wasn't." Obi-Wan reluctantly nods, indicating his hesitant trust in Anakin. Anakin senses Obi-Wan's reluctance. However, he pushes it aside, knowing that he would prove Obi-Wan otherwise in the future. "Let's be civilized here, my friends. Come on, you can trust me. Did I ever let you down in the past? Remember, Master, I saved your life 10 times as your apprentice." Obi-Wan cracks a small smile. 9 times, Anakin. Remember that business on Cato Naimoidia doesn't count. So, the plan is set. The two Jedi lay low in the heart of Coruscant for a little while longer, and Anakin prepares for the perfect moment to strike against his master. For weeks following, Anakin proceeds to listen to the words of his master carefully. As Admiral Tarkin briefs various high-ranking Imperials on certain affairs throughout the galaxy, Anakin takes note, relaying them all to his Jedi comrades through discreet transmissions that couldn't be traced back to him after each of these meetings. Anakin develops his power during this time, hoping to be effective against his master when the time finally comes for him to stand against Palpatine. He also starts training the Inquisitors in the ways of the dark side, but he's careful not to allow it to consume him. The Jedi wait in the shadowy realm of the Coruscant underworld, meditating patiently and preparing for the time when they would have to face Sidious. That day comes sooner than they anticipate. One day, as Obi-Wan and Yoda are eating a delicious bowl of bantha stew for lunch, they receive a call from Anakin via Obi-Wan's communicator. Excitedly, Anakin informs him that he's heard something come down about maintenance on the Imperial Palace. Workers would be given temporary code cylinders with necessary credentials to access the grounds of the palace for their work. Anakin believes that this is the opportunity that he's been looking for. He can sneak the Jedi and his maintenance workers, and then they could sneak into the Emperor's chambers. Anakin takes 2 cylinders, and nobody dares question the Dark Apprentice of Sidious. He then sneaks away at nighttime, and he delivers the cylinders to the Jedi under the cover of darkness. The next day, Obi-Wan dresses as a maintenance worker. Realizing that Yoda's odd build would be discernible to the informed, Obi-Wan places him in a backpack, and he heads to work. When he arrives at the palace, the clone troopers overseeing the construction make sure that he has the correct cylinder, and they also scan his backpack.
Here for maintenance, eh?
The clone asks. Obi-Wan remains calm. Yeah, I'm here for maintenance. He pauses momentarily. The security measures are a little bit overkill, wouldn't you say? The trooper chuckles.
Yeah, but the Emperor wanted the whole place locked down. Something about reports of Jedi and rebel activity in the underworld from the ISB. I would rather be cleaning toilets than doing this boring job, but here I am. For the Empire, I guess.
Obi-Wan forcibly laughs in return. Yes, for the Empire indeed. While he chuckles, Obi-Wan doesn't realize that he ends up shaking the backpack, which jostles Yoda around a little bit.
Arr!
Yoda exclaims. What
was that noise?
The trooper asks. Obi-Wan has to improvise.
Take whatever it is out for me, would ya?
The trooper asks. Sure. Obi-Wan hesitantly reaches down. Hold on a minute, Obi-Wan says back to the guard. My Lothcat has been rather naughty lately.
Lothcat!
Yoda exclaims in shock. Sorry, Master, please play along. Here, Mr. Whisker. Obi-Wan gently pulls Yoda from the bag. Oh, who's a little anxious boy?
Ah, that's a lovely Lothcat you have there. It's different from any other breed I've seen before,
the clone says. Yes, he's a rescue, and he's been a little bit anxious without me since I got him from the dumpster. That's why I brought him in today. Yoda hisses at the guard, and also at Obi-Wan. Would you like to hold him?
No.
The trooper jumps back. I mean, I'm allergic. It's a genetic mutation that some of us clones had. You should just move along. Thank you, and have a lovely day, trooper, replies Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan shoves Yoda back into his backpack.
Mr. Whisker? A better name you couldn't have come up with,
exclaims Yoda. Sorry, Master, I had to improvise. The Jedi duo was in. They meet Anakin at the established rendezvous point near Palpatine's quarters. Anakin gives them their lightsabers, and Obi-Wan takes off the worker's uniform to reveal his pristine robes. Yoda then hops out of the backpack.
Quite the trip, that was,
Yoda remarks. It was indeed, Mr. Whiskers, Obi-Wan replies cheekily. Yoda shakes his head, laughing a little bit, while Anakin tries to piece together the puzzle of what exactly is going on. You'll have to tell me about that one another time, Anakin says. The three of them each take a deep breath, preparing for the greatest challenge of their lives. Then, they enter the personal chambers of Darth Sidious. When the trio enters Palpatine's quarters, they're greeted with more of a surprise than they anticipated. Standing in Palpatine's private room is not only the Dark Lord himself, but also the Inquisitorius and a large contingent of Death Troopers. Palpatine cackles as he sees the stunned expression on the faces of the Jedi. Anakin, what is this? Did you set us up? Obi-Wan asks. The look on Anakin's face says everything that it needs to. His face is pale, and it's full of fiery rage directed at Sidious.
Vader, it's good to see that you brought some of my old friends today. I will take pleasure in ensuring their demise.
Anakin says nothing.
Did you think that you could hide your traitorous thoughts from me, my apprentice? I see all. You have served your purpose. You have brought these two masters to me. Now you have one final chance, since I am merciful. Kill them, or you shall suffer their same fate.
Sidious barks. To this, Anakin simply ignites his red blade. A battle ensues between the Jedi, the Inquisitors, and the Death Troopers. Palpatine stands in the corner, cackling. He doesn't care as the seasoned Jedi mow through his Inquisitors, and he knows that he will be the one to finish them off. Yoda bounces around the room, hopping off the walls and moving like a flash that's too quick for the Emperor's men to counter. Obi-Wan uses his mastery of the Form 3 lightsaber technique to counter attacks from the Inquisitors, and he uses their momentum against them to knock them off balance before finishing them off. During this time, Palpatine not only tries to get in the head of Anakin, but he also attempts to try and turn Obi-Wan.
All that death, all that sacrifice, Obi-Wan. Where did that get you?
Palpatine goads.
The Jedi have taken everything from you. Your master, your family.
Palpatine pauses.
Your entire life.
It's all for the Republic. It's for democracy. Obi-Wan replies, countering more attacks from the Inquisitors.
And yet they have given you nothing in return. How much more are you willing to pay for the Republic?
A lot more than you think, old man.
I could give you everything that you need to finally control the one thing that you've always wanted to.
Anakin's temper? Obi-Wan remarks cheekily.
Your destiny.
At this, Obi-Wan is tempted to give in to his emotions, but he's focused on his survival. However, a nagging suspicion of Skywalker continues to linger in his mind. It's entirely possible that Anakin had betrayed them, and that Palpatine had just played him too. Obi-Wan, who had once trusted Anakin with his entire being, now stood doubting his former apprentice, and a bit of cynical darkness starts to creep into his soul. Anakin uses his new training to bulldoze through the Emperor's defenders with his eyes on Sidious. Over the past few months, in his own time, Anakin had developed an aptitude in force judgment, and he takes the Inquisitors off guard when he uses it on them. Even Palpatine is surprised when he sees the yellow lightning coming from Anakin's fingertips. However, he is not worried. When the Jedi finish dealing with Sidious's guards, they're exhausted. Even though the three of them are powerful, Yoda is getting old, and Kenobi is tired from dealing with the Inquisitors during the lightsaber battle. Anakin, who is only relatively fatigued and motivated by his hatred towards Palpatine, unleashes a barrage of force judgment upon Sidious. Due to his short-term experience with this ability though, Palpatine cackles as he fires back with his own lightning attack, and Anakin is overwhelmed. Once again, because the other Jedi are exhausted, they manage to block Sidious's lightning with their sabers for a short period of time. Eventually though, Obi-Wan and Yoda drop their guard, and they're overtaken by Sidious's electric barrage.
This is what happens to traitorous scum like you, Vader,
Sidious proclaims. Through gritted teeth, Anakin replies,
I'll never join you.
Then, Anakin goes unconscious from the pain of the attack. The other two Jedi also fall unconscious, overtaken by Sidious's mastery of the dark side. However, the Dark Lord still has use for the Jedi, and he keeps them alive. Sometime later, the trio of Jedi are chained up in a jail cell. One by one, they wake up from their force-induced coma. First, Anakin looks at his surroundings. He recognizes the hellish design, the ambiance, the faint clashes of molten lava against the soot-covered shore, and the overwhelming feeling of dark side consuming their souls each second that they stayed inside the cell. Yoda was not conscious yet, still lifelessly hanging by the wall. Then, Obi-Wan wakes up, gasping for air. Where are we? Obi-Wan asks with bated breath.
Mustafar,
Anakin answers. Oh no, I've got a bad feeling about this, Obi-Wan says in his weakened voice. Don't worry, Obi-Wan, we've done this before. We can get out of this type of thing again. Anakin! You still have time for jokes in a situation this dire, Obi-Wan lashes out. Anakin starts to sense that something's a little bit off. Okay then, Master, let's see, do you have any bright ideas? How dare you question me? I was once your master, young Skywalker. A hint of malice drips into Obi-Wan's voice. Now Anakin is concerned, and he starts to see a change in Obi-Wan's tone. Obi-Wan just doesn't seem like himself. What are you doing, Obi-Wan? Are you okay? The weakened Jedi struggles to let loose of the constraint, desperately trying to leave this wicked place. No, I'm not okay, Anakin. All of this was your fault. All of this. You led us into that trap, Obi-Wan says. Seriously, Obi-Wan, keep it together. I've had enough of your games, Anakin, says Obi-Wan in rage. He rips the chain on his wrist straight out of the wall. You're a disgrace to the Jedi, to everything that the Republic stood for. You know that my allegiance was to the Republic and to democracy. Everything that I've built over my life. Just gone in an instant. It seemed like Palpatine's words had rubbed off on him a little bit. Master, do you think that you're the only one? Anakin replies harshly. I'm still fighting to keep Padme alive, and my mother already died brutally. At least your wife is still in the land of the living, Obi-Wan says, staring daggers into Anakin. And you had never had the guts to sacrifice those things that you love, like I did. Anakin, in this moment, begins to realize that his entire philosophy has been flawed. While the Jedi had been hypocritical, at least they had a set of core values that they adhered to, ones which helped them, in theory, remain guardians of peace and justice throughout the galaxy. Obi-Wan was right. He was going to need to sacrifice some things to reach his full potential as a master. One of those sacrifices would have to be Padme. Anakin, now understanding that Padme's life might have to be lost for the greater good of the galaxy to be realized, finds his first true moment of serenity in years. He reaches a new level of Force awareness that he can tap into wells of Force energy with that he had never experienced before. The Force Nexus on Mustafar also amplifies this feeling, causing Anakin to be incredibly aware. The shackles on Anakin's limbs rip apart, setting him free as he taps into the Force. This alarms the guards, causing them to go into the Jedi cell, ready to defend Sidious, who had made the trip to Mustafar with the Jedi prisoners. As Anakin frees Yoda, stormtroopers knock down the door, dust flies into the air, and in good old stormtrooper fashion, they start blasting at the dust cloud, missing everything of course, but they still hope to get at least one shot on target. Little did they know, Anakin holds all of their plasma shots in the air with the Force. As he releases them back at the stormtroopers, it hits them all, creating an opening for them to escape. Here you go, Mr. Whiskers. We're getting you out of here. Anakin puts Yoda on his back and runs to get his lightsaber, which, as an extension of him through the Force, Anakin can feel being held in a secure bin at the gate of the prison. At this moment, because the clones and stormtroopers are still relatively mixed in the ranks of the Empire, the clone commander that was in charge of the small group of stormtroopers on Mustafar reports to Palpatine, who's in the middle of experimenting with dark side alchemy that is more potent on the dark side world. Sir, our prime prisoners have escaped their cell. Don't worry, they won't get far, Palpatine exclaims. The dark side is a pathway to many abilities that some would consider to be unnatural. He turns on a monitor of the prison storage unit. Anakin bursts the box open to retrieve his lightsaber. Anakin looks around the hangar and he sees a ship that's open, but it's surrounded by several guards. He pushes them all out of the way with the Force, outside the Force hangar door, into the lava, and he makes sure that the coast is clear. Alright, Obi-Wan, let's go home. Anakin then turns to Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan simply looks at his hands, and they begin to sparkle, crackle, with lightning coming from his fingertips. I've never felt so powerful, so secure with this. I no longer need to compromise, to sacrifice. Kenobi then pauses, looking at Anakin with yellow eyes. And I'll never have to trust you again. Obi-Wan, what are you doing? It's the planet. It's Sidious. He's manipulating you. Stop this. I'm doing the very thing that I should have done to Maul many years ago when he stripped Satine from me and uprooted my life. I'm taking control, Anakin. Sidious is not the master of my destiny. I am. Nothing can stop me. A squad of troopers charges at Obi-Wan and Skywalker, ready for an attack. Obi-Wan swiftly swipes it away with Force lightning. He cackles maniacally. Master, what have you become? The very thing that you were always meant to be, Obi-Wan answered. He holds his hand out and, lo and behold, what was once Vader's red lightsaber blade is guided to Kenobi's hand with the Force. No one can take anything from me. Anakin does the same, using the Force to strip Kenobi of his blue lightsaber. Anakin sighs. Your anger and lust for power have already done that, Obi-Wan. If you're not going to join me, Anakin, then you're my enemy. Only a Sith deals in absolutes. I will do what I must. You will try. Obi-Wan commences a surprise attack on Anakin, and a battle that mirrors the one in Revenge of the Sith commences. The duo Tarzan flips across the mining equipment. There's a battle inside of the prison structure where their blades continue to clash, and they do fancy spin tricks that don't really mean anything. They force push one another backwards simultaneously, knocking each other into the wall. And eventually, after dueling atop the mining equipment in the lava, they end up in the same position that they were during Revenge of the Sith. This time, however, Anakin is the one on top of the cliff. It's over, Obi-Wan! I have the high ground! Unlike the idiot that Anakin is in the prequel films, Obi-Wan realizes that he's at a disadvantage at the bottom of the hill, and he uses the Force to manipulate the lava and splash it on Anakin, creating a burn scar on his right eye. Anakin is stunned by this wave of magma. Obi-Wan takes this opportunity to hit Anakin with a surprise attack, cutting off his other hand. Obi-Wan points his lightsaber at Anakin's neck. I failed you as a master. I must end what I have started, and I will take control of my fate. Just as Obi-Wan is about to deal the fatal blow, Yoda, who is weakened and been following the battle, jumps in and saves Anakin, knocking Obi-Wan's lightsaber back with his own. With a faded breath, he tells Anakin,
Go, Anakin. Our only hope, you are.
No, Master.
Go! Enough sacrifices already you have made. My turn it is.
He smiles at Anakin genuinely. Anakin reluctantly runs towards the ship, only looking back once. Yoda starts dueling Obi-Wan, and he has just enough energy to allow Anakin to leave with the ship. But Yoda, in the end, succumbs to the duel with the new dark side Obi-Wan because of his weakness. Because the events of this video have only played out over a short period of time, Anakin still escapes from the planet, and he's able to watch as Padme gives birth. He sees her give birth to Luke and Leia. Because Anakin never ends up learning how to save Padme, she dies with him by her side. Frequently, Anakin can envision Padme in his dreams, but he can never see her in person again. After Anakin takes Luke and Leia back to Naboo, Palpatine claims that in a fit of rage, Anakin had killed his beloved wife, forcing Anakin to flee under the cover of darkness with his family. This gives Anakin a negative perception in the public light, and he must exile himself to survive. Anakin starts to rebuild on the planet of Tatooine, and to live amongst his people, even though he absolutely despises sand. He knows that Sidious will never expect him to build a life for himself on a world that he hates, and he also knows that none of the other criminals on the planet were in a position to turn him in. He lives in that same old hut that old Ben does in the original trilogy, training the children to become even better Jedi than he could ever be. Anakin moves forward, understanding that his sacrifices would one day be worth it. In the end, Obi-Wan becomes Emperor of the Empire after he becomes powerful enough to dispose of Palpatine, and he rules with an iron fist. He names himself Darth Kryze after his deceased love interest, Duchess Satine, believing that she would be remembered in doing so. However, in reality, rather than be an honor of her, it's a mockery of her, as she was a galaxy-renowned pacifist. Anakin learns to be at peace. He provides his children with a solid upbringing, and he knows that they will usher in a new age of hope for the galaxy. Obi-Wan clings to his hatred, slowly drifting further into the lonely void of the dark side. He gains so much power, but he ends up forgetting everything that he once stood for. Hey there, Bantha crew, and thank you for tuning in to another What If video. You know, this time we tried something a little bit different with storytelling. If you may have noticed, I was trying to use some voices, and we went a little bit of a different direction with how we actually told the story. Personally, I had a lot of fun doing this, and I would love to hear what you guys think of the new format in the comments below. What did you guys think about the story we told? Would you have said anything differently? How do you think that it would have gone? Let us know down in the comments below. And if you'd like to see a part 2, I would also love to hear what you think would happen in a sequel. In addition, we have an absolutely thriving Discord server right now that is popping off. We have a fantastic community of like-minded Star Wars fans, and we would love it if you came and joined us. There, I can answer some of your questions and hang out with you guys, as I'm fairly active in the Discord and I love interacting with all of our fans. If you guys enjoyed this video, I would recommend checking out this other What If video, What If Yoda Turned to the Dark Side. I hope that you guys had an absolutely bantatacular day. And, as always, I hope that you've had your daily delicious dose of Bantha Stew.